What's good, guys? Mike Thomas, aka the Young Trishula here. Today I wanted to talk about a very interesting version of Dragon Link that I've been playing recently over on Twitch. You can check us out at twitch.tv/TrishulatTTV. We have a lot of fun over there. And that deck, it might surprise you in that it is Danger Dragon Link. As some of you might know, we recently got Danger Nessie back to 3 on the most recent ban list. And this, to me, was very interesting considering Dangers at least used to be some of the best cards in the game. With Danger Nessie, one of the big 3 Dangers finally coming back to 3, I think it's actually a little bit more viable than it was previously to insert Danger monsters into your deck. This is especially true in the Dragon Link deck because you have so many good cards that you want to put in the graveyards. You have Snow, you have Destrudo, you have Absol. Those cards are very strong. I just wanted to show off a very cool version of this deck that I was playing over on Twitch. We did very well with it. So hopefully you guys find this deck interesting. Maybe you want to try it out at your locals or something. Anyway, let's just hop straight into the deck profile. Okay, so starting off with the Rocket package. So we are playing 3 Tracer, 2 Synchron, 1 Recharger, and then 2 Absol. This is pretty standard for older versions of Dragon Link. And if you are familiar with Dragon Link, these ratios shouldn't be too surprising for you. 3 Tracer because you always want to see it, Synchron because it's your best follow-up, Recharger because you summon it with Tracer, and Absol, of course, to search any of the names, and the second copy so that you see it more frequently with cards like Chaos Space or any of your Danger monsters. We play 3 Safer in this variant of the deck because we are not playing the Brave cards, so Safer's a pretty good normal summon. And because we were playing multiple copies of Absol, it gets a lot more value being able to search your Noctivision dragons. We play 1 copy of Levianeer, pretty standard. Play the 2 babies, pretty standard. Still play Red MD just because of Nibiru, fairly standard, but some people asked me about it, so figured I'd mention it. We also play the 3 Noctivision dragon, as well as the Galactic Spiral dragon, 1 Destrudo, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, and then for the Dangers, we play 3 Nessie, 1 Jackalope, 1 Tsuchinoko, 1 Bigfoot, 1 Thunderbird. Thunderbird's interesting, and I want to mention it briefly. Because Thunderbird is a winged beast, you can actually use it to summon Romulus with, so this card is sort of a dragon extender in a way. And then both Thunderbird and Bigfoot are both level 8, so they can help you go into cards like the Zombie Vampire, which is a very good Xyz monsters that came out of the most recent set Bach. Definitely worth thinking about if you're playing Dragon Link. Very, very cool card. Very cool card. Like this card a lot. As for the spells, we play 3 Quick Launch, 3 Chaos Space, 3 Droplet, 1 Called by the Grave, 1 Boot, and 1 Ravine. The Droplet being our only defensive card, unfortunately, because the Dangers run too much of a risk of discarding hand traps and Dark Ruler not being that good this format, so we opt to play Droplet just as the only defensive card and just rely on the Dangers to break boards with. So far, pretty good for me. Pretty good for me. Can't really complain too much. Moving on to the extra deck, we play the 3 standard Synchro monsters in Savage, Pepega, and Hot Red Abyss. Pretty standard. Don't really need to talk about them. If you know dragons, you know these cards. If you don't know these cards, I have lots of other dragon videos where I talk about them. Then we're going to talk about the new card, the Zombie Vampire. This card is kind of like another copy of Pepega, where it can mill 4 cards from both players, and you can special summon any monster that was banished from those mills, including your opponent's mills. It has another cool effect that if you want to use a monster that was originally your opponent's, you can treat that monster as a level 8, so that synergizes well with the other card from the new set that we're playing, being the Dark Charmer Gloomy, which can reborn a monster from your opponent's graveyard if it's a dark attribute. So kind of interesting, comes up sometimes, not the most relevant effect, but good to take note of. It also randomly cannot be targeted by the effects of special summon monsters, except those summoned from the graveyard. So kind of neat, That doesn't come up too much, but you know, if it does, cool. Then, of course, we play 1 Pisty, 1 Striker, 1 copy of Seal to accommodate cards like Curious in our extra deck. The IP Masquerena, Romulus, Unicorn, Access Code, these are all very standard. Quad Boral, then Dark, we talked about just briefly. You can special summon back a Dark from the opponent's graveyard. It's really nice in Dragon Link having a generic Link 2, and one that can also help you set up into your Unicorn Access Code plays. So really good card. I'll jump over this card and I'll talk about Apollo because it's more standard. Apollo, just put it in the deck because standard, easy to make it, and maybe a little bit easier now with having stuff like Chaotic Magical and Vampire Zombie. So sometimes a little bit easier to make than it used to be, especially with the Danger monsters having just so many free extenders in this deck. So very nice. And then of course we have Curious. Curious obviously to be used whenever you draw a Danger hand. If you're drawing a Danger hand, you probably don't have access to too many dragons, so Curious can dump those. It lets lets you send snow from your deck to the graveyard if you do have a good hand full of dragons or good access to dragons. So this being able to dump Absorrouter, dump Snow, Destrudo, Galaxy Spiral, all those cards really strong dumps off of Snow, or really strong dumps off of Curious. Milling 3 cards is also really strong because you can mill any of the good mills in the deck. And between Chaotic Ruler, Vampire Zombie, and Curious, this deck can mill upwards of 12 cards. So it's really strong. You have so much access with your graveyard, so much graveyard synergy that this deck is really good at playing with its resources. And then Curious is insane going second, obviously, because not only do you get that mill to generate more resources, but it's a link 3, so you can use it to go into access code with. And it's a very good card at deterring stuff like Nibiru, because if your opponent Nibirus, you get to add back any card from your graveyard to your hand. Really good card, really cool to include in the deck. Then moving on to the side deck, we of course play 3 Lancia, 3 Droll, 2 Token Collector, 2 Ghost Ogre. These sub out with the danger cards when you go second if you are playing in a matchup where you need a lot of hand traps. If you don't need hand traps, then obviously you don't need to put these cards in. Very easy to swap out. It's also really nice having 2 ofs of Ghost Ogre and Token Collector, because that means that we can swap out very nicely with our 7 of danger package. So we can put in these 4 plus either 3 of these for the respective matchup, and we do pretty well. Then finally closing off the side deck, we have stuff like Cosmic, Feather Duster, Reboot, just to deal with some of the back row decks in the format. And that about finishes up the deck profile. So if you found this deck interesting, if you did enjoy this deck, please drop this video a like, leave me a comment, let me know, or consider subscribing. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of March. But above all else, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good day.